Okay, I'm going to model this hangar right here. I'm going to model in GMax, believe it or not, just to kind of refamiliarize myself with that, and it's a good exercise to stay current with certain things. So I want to open up GMax right now. This hangar is at Spokane, by the way, so if it turns out good enough, I'll probably end up using it, or I might not. So we'll see how that works out. Alright, so here we are in GMax. Of course, I'm using FSX GMax game pack, so if you don't have that installed and you're going to be modeling for any flights, well, for FSX or prepared, then yeah, you will want to have the FSX game pack installed. Okay, so the first thing first, we need to add some sort of reference image, preferably. I guess technically don't have to, but I'm going to. So I could create a new plane, but I already have some planes, some pictures from other projects, so I think I could just open one of those. And if you want to learn how to apply an image to a plane so you can use it as a background image, then check out my background image video. Okay, so let me just, maybe I open up another, let me think about this. Yeah, why don't I just open up an old project. Let's see, this is bound to have something. Now I'm lost. Can outbuildings, maybe this one will work. Let's try it. It just needs to have a background image in it, but it doesn't look like it does. I'll tell you what, guys, let's just add a new image. I have quite a bit of time to do this, so I'll say new all. Okay. So I'm going to create a plane. I'll just go with 500 by 500 meters for now, and I'll turn the length and width segments down to 1, because I'm only going to use one image for this. And I got that one wrong. Okay, there we go. I'll go ahead and center this, although I'll probably end up moving it later. Okay. My top view, I'm going to turn off the grid, which is by pressing G. That's always handy. Okay. So I need to figure out where my images are, because I haven't looked them up for a while, but they're probably going to be on my D drive. Let's see. BFS scenery development, of course. Photoreal scenery project. Image compiling. Okay, I just need to figure out which tile I need to use for that building. Not that one. Okay, there's the building right there, right in the corner. So, probably what I'll do, well, maybe I won't do that. Let's see. What's the name of this picture? 6th tile. Okay. So open up the GMax material editor. Press new. I won't be using this in the image in Flight Simulator, but I'll just still use Flight SimX as the material type. Okay, set the specular to black, which means no specular. Okay, select our diffuse, we'll press bitmap, and navigate there. I keep turning off my my microphone because I have to sneeze. This doesn't happen to me very often. Okay, so where am I here? FS Scenery Development, Photoreal, Spokane Photoreal Project. Okay, what's number 6? Be that one right there. Okay, so I'm going to set this to smooth and highlight so I can see what's going on. Okay, then hit the white and blue checkered box so I can see it in the viewport here when I apply it. So then I'm just going to press apply. And it looks like it's already squared up to the plane, so I don't need to really do any mapping. Although if I had to, I just go up to modifiers, UVW map, and set these to 500 by 500. It is slightly larger than that, and that's just kind of a default thing GMax does. I guess I'll just set them back down to 500. Okay, so now I pretty much want this to be at the origin for this. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn back on the grid so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to move this so that the this hangar is about centered at the origin. And I'm going to collapse that modifier there. And I want to move this plane down so I can see the grid. So I'm going to have the move tool selected. Just going to click here on the Z box here. Okay. Now I can, looks like I should rotate this a little bit so it's a little more square. Because at the moment it's slightly off, so I can use the rotate tool and just click the Z axis here, going the wrong way. And that's a little, well, that's about right. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. So I'm just gonna like basically center it. It doesn't matter too much, but just, you know, get it close, I guess. Okay, maybe something like that. This building, I'm not sure if it's, let me look at it in Google Earth here. I'm not sure if it's the same distance from right and left as far as being symmetric or not. Let's exit ground level view. I guess it appears to be, so I'm gonna assume it is. But this little entryway over here is not really centered with the building, so I have to keep track of that. This looks like it must have been like the old Spokane Flight Center or something, because, I mean, it must be one of these over here now, probably that box there. Okay, so it's a little off-center. Looks like we have some electrical boxes there, so we might model those for a little extra detail. You know, we'll just see how it goes. Okay, back in the GMax. So we have our image here. Maybe I'll move it back this way a little bit. The image is a little off just because it's a satellite image. You can see it was kind of not quite taken straight down So anyhow. Okay, so let's add, typically with GMax, in Blender I would start out with a plane. In GMax I start out with boxes, so I'm just gonna block it in. Okay, I'm not worried about what the height is at the moment. We'll figure that out here in a second. And maybe what I'll do is go back into Google Earth here, and if I adjust my view over here, okay, and maybe if I make sure it's square, now I'm going to kind of use I think I'm going to try and use a method that I've demonstrated in a video. It's not too far back, maybe the 4th or 5th back, that deals with trying to accurately model like the size of a building. I should note right now is that I when I created the background image here, it's scaled down from what it should be, but that just makes it a little easier to work with, so I can scale things up once I'm done modeling. But yeah, back in Google Earth here, I'm just going to grab a quick snapshot of this. If I can get it somewhat square, somewhat centered, maybe out this way. I wish I could get off the ground a little bit more, but oh well. If I come back a little bit further, that might help. And then if I use snipping tool quite a bit to grab random images, and I'll just grab like, probably want to cut off all the asphalt down here, so I'll snip it right about there. Okay, so let me save that, and I think I'll create a new folder. So I'll call this, well, it may not be the flight center today, but I'm going to call it the flight center, so I'm just going to create a folder called that. And I'll save this as maybe front or something, so I know kind of what it is. Anyhow, kind of boring right now. Okay, so why don't we add that image here in GMax. So first thing, we need to find out the dimensions of that image. So if I go back to my desktop, flight center, let's find out the properties. Oh, here it is right down here at the bottom. No way I'm going to memorize that, but 991 by 297. So if I create a new plane, that is height, let's see here. Okay, we'll go with the width as 297, and then the length as 991, and I need to scale this down now. And I should have made sure I was on, there's a couple different scaling, different types of scaling you can do. So if you left click on this button right here and hold it, and then drag your mouse, there's some different options here. This one right here is uniform scale. This is like non-uniform, and I think this one might be like scale on a certain axis, but I want to use uniform scaling so I don't mess up the proportions of my plane here. Whoops, wrong one. And I really want to scale this down a lot. Okay. So now let me add that image to this. So I'll say new flight sim X. And it doesn't matter, but I'll turn the specular down to black there. Bitmap. And this time it's on my desktop. Flight center. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Hit the white and blue checkered box and then press apply. And you'll notice that the mapping is not oriented right, so I'm going to have to rotate it. So to do that, I go back to modifiers, UVW map, which is usually what you use for like just these background or reference images. Basically, it looks like the numbers are opposite of what they should be, so if I change the width to this number, which is should be around 297, which is more than close enough. And then this one I believe is 9, should be 9, 9. Well, you know what, I might be doing that wrong. Why would I be doing that? Ah, okay, perfect. So now I just need to rotate this. So if I use the rotate tool, then here in the modifier I hit this little plus right here, and then there's a gizmo. GMax has some kind of unique names for certain things. But yeah, we'll use the gizmo here with the rotate tool. And we'll rotate this. I can only rotate this on the z-axis because these little this Z button here is activated, which means it's locked. Like all your transform tools are locked to the Z-axis. Now, of course, there's also the Y and X axis. I guess GMax calls it restricted to, but it's the same thing. There's also X, Y, and I think you could hold that button down right here, and then drag to get the Y, Z axis or Z, X axis, etc. Now, before I go much further, I'm going to go ahead and save this. Be foolish not to. And I'll save this in that same folder. Let's see. Flight center 01. Okay. If I think I name it like this, I'll get new files every time I save it. So if I save again, what's that going to do? So if I try to open something now. Okay, yeah, okay. So if you use the underscore 01 kind of naming convention, then you get a new file. I don't know if it matters how you name it to begin with, actually, but yeah, anyhow, I mean, I just like to name them this way anyways, because that's kind of the way you do it. So yeah, I'll get new files every time I save, which is a good thing in case I mess something up, which odds are I will. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this and just do it on the z-axis, which is a good thing if you're not in a kind of like an orthographic viewport. Okay. So if you've seen this other video I was talking about earlier, it's probably pretty obvious what I'm going to do next, but basically I'm going to rotate this, and let's see, on the y-axis I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So I can just type it in here like it just did. And I might want to do negative 90. Let's see, I need to get a different view now. Try this one. No, not that one. This one. Nope, that one. Okay. Looks like I might have to open up a new view. Let's see. Where can I do this from? Maybe this one. Okay. If I right click on the left corner of the viewport and say views, let's see what's going to get us a good view. The left view, probably. Okay. And if I want to make sure I'm on smooth and highlights, which I am, and then it looks like I could just rotate this now on the z-axis 180 degrees, and it's going to be positioned right. Except it's upside down now. That's weird. Well, okay. That's fine. I'll rotate this 180 degrees on the x. No, that would be the... yeah, it is. That'd be the y-axis. No. Z. Axes kind of seem to change based on what viewport you're in. I'm not sure if I like that or not. And I'm going to type it in. I don't know what's going on here. Oh boy, let's see. So if I rotate it on the y-axis first, let's see what that would do. Maybe I'll rotate it here in the perspective viewport here. keep seeming to not be able to select for some reason, even though I have my tool activated. Ah, okay. Now I think I see why. Maybe. Well, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Okay, let's see. What can we do to fix this? Let me turn this to smooth and highlight so I can see where we're at right now. Okay, I'm going to turn out the grid. Makes it even easier to see. Just trying to figure out why it's not. So now it rotates. And maybe that's just GMax. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Okay. And then, well, let's see. What can we do now? And then if I rotated it on the x-axis 180 degrees, or just set that back to 0, why would it? Okay, we'll just do it manually, I guess. Okay, there we go. Finally, okay. So basically what I want to do with this image is if I move this, let me get a different view here. Let me X that off so it's not in the way. I'll do it from this view angle here. So I know my box is about the right width. Set this to X and Y now. So I know my box is about the right width for the hanger. So if I scale this image so that the width of the hanger in this image is the same width as the box, then the height should be about right as well. So if I scale this a little bit more, okay, right about there. It's kind of a nice thing about Google Earth now is with the 3D objects, which when I first started modeling Spokane, there wasn't that feature, at least not where as far as Spokane was concerned, there wasn't 3D objects yet in Google Earth. So this has been really handy to have that feature now. Okay, and let's see. So now the other issue is, now if you want to lower this to the z-axis, well, it's not going to be, it's not, well, let me show you what's going to happen if we try and lower this now. Let's see, what would be the right one in this case? I guess the z-axis, technically. Press 0. As you can see, the origin of this object is right here in the center of the plane instead of down here on the bottom. So I'm going to have to go over to here. Let's see. Would it be motion? It would actually be hierarchy. Okay. So if I say effect pivot only, well, you know what, actually, now that I know that the origin is level with the axis here, if I say effect object only, and then move this up until it is level with that. In fact, I want to do that while it is locked to the z-axis. I thought the z-axis, but then all of a sudden it becomes the y-axis. Okay. Okay, so we level that. So now our origin is at the bottom of this plane. It should be. So now if I set this to 0, which it already kind of is, it's going to be level. Okay. That's good. That's what we want. Now let me kind of move this back and forth. I guess it's about centered as is. Alright, that's good. So now we can go back to our box here finally, after all that, and decrease its height. And we'll move it right about there. Since it's at an angle, it might be a little taller. I also try and just look at the height right now and just kind of try and make sense of it. It's like, okay, 1.8, you know, that sounds about right. Okay, that's good. So now we can just extend our roof line here. So to do that, we're going to need a width segment. So maybe if I go to wireframe, well, actually what I want is like smooth and highlights and then show edged faces. That might be the best way. Okay, so now if I add a, would it be the width? No, it would be the length. Okay. So I've added a length segment. And then if I now convert this to, you know, I've been using editable poly quite a bit, and I guess I'll go with that because I find it a little bit easier to work with than editable mesh. It doesn't seem to matter which one you use. Okay, so fine, we'll go to convert it to editable poly. And if I select, it helps me in wireframe to select these vertices, but if I select these two vertices and then go back to smooth and highlights, because I can, and then move it up on the y-axis in this case. So again, I lock this to the y-axis so I can only move it one direction. Okay, so now we have a roof line. Alright, great. Now we're kind of going to progress similarly as to how I would progress in Blender. At this point I'm going to add a sort of like a little bit of a lip to the roof. I'm looking here in Google Earth. And I'm thinking how much of a, I guess Google Earth isn't that high res to be able to indicating kind of a lip to the roof, but I know there should be one probably. So this is a little different, and this would be a little different than what you would do in Blender, but basically I'm going to create a new plane. So let me go to the top view. And I'll create a new plane, slightly larger than the box. Something like that. And let's see, if I add a length segment, I don't know why I'm creating a plane. I wanted to create a box. But yeah, okay. So I create a box. That's a little large for my taste. And I didn't want it to be that tall, but we'll fix that here. Now, if we move this a little bit, so it's centered, and then if I change the width, well, okay, yeah, so the width and the height, or the length, I mean, to maybe something like around there. Maybe a little more on the, maybe a little less on the width. Maybe that's what I need. I'm gonna do like 10.6. Okay, there. And again, I have two length segments. So now if I move this up, and I want to lock that to the z-axis. Okay, when I do this, now we're starting to get there. Now I'll go back to views, be a left view. Before I do anything here, I'm going to change the height of this to be even a lot less, actually. Something, you know, something around there. And then let me move this up slightly. Now it's going to be on the wrong axis. So if I say a y-axis, move it up. Okay. And now I convert this to, I'm going to say editable poly. Why not? And go to wireframe. Select both the vertices on both ends of this, and then just move these down. Right, that looks pretty good. I want to leave a little bit of overlap here. It looks like I need to move this a little bit to the left. I'm not worried about it being perfect, but we'll get it close anyways. Okay, so now we have a roof line. Let me go back to smooth and highlights to see how that looks. And it looks pretty good. Trying to see if there's anything else I might want to do to that. I don't really think there is. Okay, well, that's good. So now we kind of have this piece to deal with, and I need to kind of go back to Google Earth once again and see what's up with that. Okay. Exit ground level view here. So the first thing I was kind of curious about is if there's a slope. There has to be a little bit of a slope on the back here of this little annex. Okay. So we might have to kind of think about how we might want to go about this. This piece is easy enough to create. There's just this part here that might be a little bit more tricky. And it'd be, how do we do that? So I think first of all, this first step will be just to create this bit. Okay. And that's, let's see, I want to kind of take note of the height of that. Okay. We'll go back to GMax here. So I think what I'll do is create a box, another box. Okay, so let me go to my top view. And zoom in, and then let's see, go back to our standard primitives here and create another box. So from about there to here, and then move up. Something about like that. And the height, of course, is too tall. Okay. That's pretty close. We want it to kind of extrude into that other building a little bit. So we'll do that. In fact, it doesn't really matter too much if the way I have this planned works. Get back to the top view. I'm trying to stay in just one single view here so it's easier to see on the video, instead of these small views, which can be kind of, you know, kind of messy. Otherwise, yeah, I would probably be using all 4 viewports. Let me rotate this a little bit. Definitely need to make it a little shorter. So the height needs to come down. quite a bit actually. Closer to there. Maybe a little more. Let's take a look at it back in Google Earth. Yeah, it's not quite half. And I'm back on ground level view. It's not quite half, but a little more than half. I think we're pretty close as we are now. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And again, make sure it's somewhat extruding into this building, which seems to be. Okay, so now before I do anything, I kind of want to think about, do I want to add any divisions to this box or not? If I wasn't worried about this piece right here, then I probably wouldn't. It's a little odd how it, I mean, it almost looks like it's kind of like a afterthought the way it's put on there. I mean, it even looks like the metal's a different color. So it's kind of a question of how I want to go about adding that. Might be able to use a boolean or model it directly into this thing. So I think maybe what I'll do, I'll just leave the segments here down to 0 or just 1 each and go from there and see how it works out. Okay. Let's see where we can go from here. Let's see. Convert this to an editable poly. Now, I was kind of wanting to try and do some sort of boolean thing here, so let's see what we can come up with. If I select this object, let me go back to the Create tab or Create menu, and let me go down to Compound Objects. Okay, so box 1, and this is. Let me save this while I have a chance. That's box 3. So let me see if I can do some sort of boolean thing here. So I select this box, and then let's see, press boolean. Let's see, B minus A. Maybe that's what we want. Maybe we want the intersection or the union. Let me try union real quick and see what happens. Well, that seemed to work pretty well, maybe. Let me kind of go back to wireframe, see what's really going on here. Go back to, I'm going to collapse this modifier now. So convert this back to an editable poly and see what we have. Vertex. So what I kind of like to do is just test to see if these vertices are just one vertex, and that kind of tells me the geometry is at least somewhat clean. Let me lock this to X and Y axis so I can move it around a little bit more. So it seems to be. That's good. And that's connected. Okay, we should have another vertex down there at the bottom. Let me see. Won't be able to see it here. There it is. So we have a couple extra vertices down here. I should be able to get rid of those though. If I just say delete, will that do anything harmful? Yeah, it did. So maybe if I delete, let me go back to smooth and highlights. Well, in fact, I don't even need the bottom here, so I could just go ahead and delete all this. So let me see. Select by polygon, perhaps the best way to do this. Just delete these. Delete isolated vertices. Yes, we do want to do that. Okay, so that seems to be working pretty well. Now if I just move this edge down to about the approximate angle, and I lost it. Let me zoom in here again. What did I do here? I need to get a different view. I think probably like a front view. Alright, excellent. Okay. Now let me move this down. The y-axis probably. Let me check the angle in Google Earth. It's not a very steep angle. Not steep at all. But that's probably about right. Can't be too choosy. Okay, so the only other thing we really have to worry about at this point is, let me deactivate this, go back to smooth and highlights. So basically we have, let me see here. Right here. So we just have this little overhang, and then we'll probably go around, put some doors, maybe some more booleans for the windows. You know, I'm not too sure, and now I'm way out here in North Spokane. Okay. But anyhow, okay. Fine, let's try that. Let's see if I add... Yeah, okay, so this will be fine. Let's just add another box. And boxes seem to be kind of GMax's its thing. So why not use another one? So let me go to my top view. And probably want to be in wireframe mode for this. Well, not wireframe. I want to be kind of like smooth and highlights, but then have edged faces so I can see things a little more easily. Maybe that's what I want. Okay, so let me see. Okay, go back to standard primitives, and we'll create a new box. And this box, let's see, I think it should go back right about here. I don't want it to extrude into this main building part, but just this piece right here. So I make it the width of that overhang. And let's see, we'll see about the height here in a second. I just want to get created, and then go to views, front view, I guess. The first thing is we need to move this up. Okay, so it's not locked on the right axis. I'll do it on the Z. No, it's not right either. The Y axis, okay. And we'll go back to Google Earth. These things I'm okay with just eyeballing. Again, you know, I used to be really stressed out about getting, you know, things exact, but but you know, nowadays it's just, you know, it's always, I guess it's nice to have things exact, but it really does not make a whole lot of difference in flight sim. I mean, dare I say, no difference at all, really, as long as it's convincing. So this thing pretty much comes out straight from, well, it pretty much goes all the way back to here. and it comes down a little bit. So we'll have to kind of, kind of look at that. I don't think, I actually think it's a little hollow. Let me kind of rotate this. Maybe I should have done this a little differently. So I actually don't think there's a real front piece to this necessarily. So maybe what I should have done, well, I still need a box, but I need a segment here to kind of lift it up this way. Okay, well, we can do that. So I'll go back to GMax. And so what I'm thinking is I need to add a segment. I guess you'd call it a width segment, although that may not be what GMax thinks it is. Probably more like a length segment. We'll add a length segment, and then what can we do after that? Let me go to views. It'd be the right view. Okay, I'm in editable poly. Let me go to wireframe. Okay, is it, I guess, is it Ian Neal? Alright, that's actually an interesting thing. Okay, Google Earth Pro for free. That is something, yeah, okay. So Ian's saying that you can use Google Earth Pro for free now. Which means, yeah, what did he say? 3D path measuring tool. Yeah, so that's something I always thought that was missing in the Google Earth I have right now, is there is no way to measure 3D buildings that I know of. So yeah, that is good to know. Okay. So let me decide, how do I want to do this? That is interesting. How would I do this? Because, let's see. Let me go back here. I have to kind of think about this a little bit, but I think probably the best way to go about it is to convert this. Well, yeah, okay. So, yeah, convert this to an editable poly, and we'll select the vertices, and let's see. If I move these up to here, and then take these vertices and drag them down. Okay. So sometimes you have to kind of map things out and then undo things. So if I want to go back to the box, and now I see that I think I want a width segment, and you'll see why in a second. That wasn't what I wanted. I want a height segment. Okay. Now let's go back and try that again. So convert to an editable poly. Let me save this once again. And again, if I move these, well, maybe I'll do it one layer at a time. If I move this segment up here, and I move this segment up, right about there. Let me go to the top view real quick, because I'm going to kind of rethink this a little bit. So if I go to the top view, And if I move the vertices back, that'd be the x-axis in this case. I'm going to move them back to... No, it is though. Okay, yeah. I'm going to move them back to here. Zoom in as much as I can. Just line it up. Alright. And then let me go back to my right view. Starting to get a hang of this. And let's see. If I maybe want a little bit more lip here, but let me move this down a little bit. And then if I just select these vertices, hold down Control so I select both sides, then move them down. I'm going to zoom way in because I want to match these with these vertices right here, I think. Okay. That's cool. The angle doesn't seem to be as deep as it is in here. Ah, okay, I see. I see how they did that. So maybe I even want to move these. Let me go back to the top view again. I move these back just a little bit more. Oops. Do it on the x-axis. Move it slightly behind this here. And then go back to my right view. And let's see, where can we go from here? Okay, so I've kind of made up my mind. And I really should kind of undo some of this, because now I've changed my mind again, but that's how these things work. And then I'll go back. So we're kind of back tracing here, but that's fine. Move that back and then go back to my right view. Views, the right view. And then if I move these down to about, I'll have to kind of reference this Google Earth a little bit to kind of get it about right. Doesn't go down too far. So that's definitely more than I want. It's probably more like that. And if I take these vertices, move them down like so. And preferably I would like to merge these, like this vertice and this vertice together, and the same thing with the two vertices back there, and the same thing on the right side. But I'm trying to decide if it's worth it or not. So, you know, well, why don't we try it and see what comes of it. And okay, yeah. So if I go back to having those vertices selected, move them all the way down so that they overlap here. Then, if I kind of just rotate around so I can kind of see things a little better. And let's see how this actually looks before I go any further. If it actually looks right. And perhaps even hide this pink part of the building. So I go here, and then there's this kind of like it's almost like a monitor screen looking menu. And I say hide selected. And then let me just see how this looks. Okay, it looks like it's still all in one piece. Okay, good. Try and select this object again, and go back to the modifier menu here. So I want to kind of like weld these two vertices together because there is two of them here, if you recall. And so let's see, weld selected. Down here there's a weld kind of sub-menu. If I turn up the range here, it'll weld any selected vertices within this range, or at least that's what it should do. And we'll see what happened here now. So now if I click on one of these vertices and try to move it, there should only be one. And it appears that's what that appears to be the case. So it seems to be working. So let me do the same thing over here for the rest of these. Select these. Weld selected. Maybe I should go in wireframe. Make sure both of them are selected. Okay, weld selected. Same thing here. Weld selected. And then hopefully if I do the same thing to these, everything comes out okay. Go back to smooth and highlights and see how things look. Okay, that's good. Everything still looks good. Okay, so we're kind of making some progress here. Let me go back to I want that. Let's see, what view do I really want here? Probably the top view. But before I go to the top view, I'm going to select these two polygons because I'm going to extrude them out now. So if I go to wireframe, no, it'd be views, top view now. Okay. Then I should be able to extrude these out. So, where's the extrude button? Here it is. Yeah, just manually extrude them. That didn't work so well. Let's try this again. We want to go the other way. There we go. Alright, let's see if that worked. Seems like it did. I'm going to turn off wireframe, or edge faces. The shading is a little fishy right here. I'm not sure why that is necessarily. Probably because it's over the building is my guess. But it looks like we've have the desired result that we wanted. So go to well, what I want to do is actually go ahead and unhide hidden objects. So that looks pretty much what we want to have. So I wonder if I could do a boolean on this now. So let's see. Select the pink object. Maybe I don't want to do that quite yet because I don't have a roof line for this bit yet. So I could actually do that right now. Let's add the roof line here. So you say, go back to my modify tab here. If I select this polygon and go into wire, maybe, let's see, if I select edge faces again so we can see what I have selected. And let's see. And then if I say create shape, I think there must be a create shape somewhere. Maybe that's with splines. I could use the detach tool because once I create the roof line, then I won't need this plane here anyways, at least not in its current state. So if I detach it, call it, the yellow will be the roof 01 once I name it, so I'll name this roof 02. And then if I go to my object list here and then just select that, and why don't I just, you know, maybe extrude it. That'd be probably the best thing to do. So if I select it and then say, well, if I extrude it, then I'm going to be missing the bottom piece. Okay, well, we won't worry about that quite yet. I mean, we'll worry about it, but we'll fix it. So let me extrude this. I need to get on a view where I can actually see what's going on. Probably something like the front view. Okay, so now if I extrude this, I can see how far I'm extruding it. So let's see, okay, select extrude, or activate it, and get that little cursor indication, and then, that didn't work. Let's try it again. Okay. And then I move it up. See, maybe how much further you want to go. Right about there. And then I was hoping I could just scale it, so let's see how that works. I'm going to change this color so I can kind of see it a little better. There we go. So if I go to top view now, views, top, and let's see if I can scale this. So let's see if I just scale it as is. I might have to move it down so I can see how much I'm scaling it with respect to, maybe I just need a different view. That's what I really need. So if I go to maybe my right view, and scale this, but scale it with the whole thing selected. Okay. So we don't want to quite scale it that much. Maybe something about like so. And I might have to decrease the height now that I scaled it the way I did. But first I'll reposition it, so maybe go back to the front view and reposition it. Whoops. Okay. That actually looks pretty good right there. And is it a little tall now? I think it is. So if I just select that top polygon and move it back down a little bit, then we should be set. No. Okay, and lock it to, let's see. That's a little better. Okay. And this roof, we kind of probably want to kind of merge this roof with the building. It's kind of my plan anyway, so if I select the building, and then of course we'll go over to the create menu, compound objects, boolean, pick operand B, which is roof 2, and I think I want to do the union again, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, well, it still looks like a roof, as near as I can tell. Let me turn off edge faces. Alright, well, that looks fine. And let's see how it really worked out by going to wireframe. And with vertices, well, collapse, convert back to an editable poly too. So the question will be, which vertices do we need? Which ones do we not need? Okay, so I guess we need, if I select this vertex, I have it on the XY axis, so I can move it out. It's a little confusing to look at the moment. This looks like it all worked out fine. It's just right up here. It might require have to do a little cleaning up. But I think if I delete this edge and that edge, and that edge, we'll see what happens if we do this. I think I can delete. I can't really delete that edge. Actually, I probably could. Let's do this. Select by polygon. There. I want to delete that. And if I delete this, yes. See that? Delete isolated vertices. Let's see if this worked out or not. I want to select this one right there. If I could, there it is. Yes, and let's see if that still looks okay. So it seems to be working okay. Kind of rotate around here. Where am I at? We can delete this polygon. And then see, what else do we have here? What does this belong to? Okay, that's that. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that right now. It seems like it'll probably work okay. This overhang, do I want to do anything to it? It doesn't quite really, reach up to there. Well, maybe I'll play around with it here. So I move it up. That'd be the z-axis. Move up to right about there, and then maybe get to my right view again. Save this. Zoom in and select appropriate vertices, because I want to move these left and right ones down some more in this case. Well, along with everything else, I guess. But we want to make sure we lock it to the appropriate axis. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I kind of want to do a boolean with this and the hanger. So let's see. Let's see how that works. So let's select the pink object or the hanger, and then go back to the same thing. Create compound objects, boolean, pick operand B. What color is that going to be? Or what name, I guess. Box 3. Okay. That'll make things a little easier. Okay, pick operand B. It's again set to union. And go to... Let me actually try intersection real quick too. Maybe that is better to begin with, but let's see. Or not. Nope. Definitely union. Okay. And I don't think I have boolean activated. Pick operand B. Box 3. Okay, there we go. Let's see how that worked. If it's too messy or what. Could very well be too messy to do this, but it looks like it might have worked out okay. Is there any cleanup required? Doesn't look like it, so you know, I think we're okay for the time being, because it looks like it added vertices everywhere that we needed. It looks like we need to add planes down here. I think I can fix that pretty easily. But at this point, I think I'm going to sign off for a little while. Hopefully this is going to be a good thing to be doing this. Hopefully it's somewhat interesting or informative. And I'll probably be back, you know, pretty much as I work on it. I'll live stream it, but I think I will be doing more of this today, but it's time for a little break anyways. But yeah, okay, we got a good start to this.